Hi, it's Colin here, and I thought I would take some time just to show you my daily stretching routine, just so that it gives you a few ideas as to what you can do, particularly at the moment in lockdown, to keep your body moving, to keep it limber, to stop your muscles getting too tight, and to mobilize some of your joints. Now, I go through 16 different poses. Most of them are based loosely on yoga poses, although I completely understand that anybody that knows anything about yoga will probably have a go at me for my technique. I do each stretch for a minute, and I time that rather than using the timer on my phone and having to stop and start and stop and start with every exercise. I use an app called Interval Timer. If I can, I will put a link in the description below this video, and it's just a free app that allows you to put intervals into a timer. So I have 1 minute interval for the exercise and then a 10-second interval in between each pose just to get into the next one. Now, I'm not going to record myself doing all 19 minutes of it, but what I'll do is I'll just take you through each of the poses in turn. And then you can watch those and then go and work out how long you want to do each pose. Now, whether it's 30 seconds, 60 seconds, it doesn't really matter. It's just getting you up and moving. So, to start with, I do a series of different child's pose poses. So, if you look at one of the other videos on this site, there is a description on how to do child's pose or a basic child's pose, so I start there. So, side on, knees apart, toes together, or certainly big toes together, and then all you're going to do is sit back onto your heels and stretch forwards as far as you comfortably can. If you're here, then that's great. If you can come further down and are a wee bit more flexible, then that's absolutely fine too. And I hold this for a minute, and what this is doing is opening up the joints in your lower back, stretching the muscles in the lower back, and also stretching the medial or inner fibers of your gluteal muscles or your butt muscles. From here, I then stretch round and bring my left arm over towards the right hand side. And again, I hold this for a minute. Now, this is keeping you in child's pose, so it's keeping all those benefits from the first minute stretch, but it's adding intensity and stretch through these muscles that are coming down the side here, so your lats in particular. And again, I hold that for a minute. From here, obviously, we need to do the other side, and therefore I just change over, so my right arm is coming over towards the left hand side, and again staying in child's pose. From here, I then go into a twist, and what I'm going to do is with my right arm, I'm going to thread it under my left arm. And so we start to bring in a little bit of mobilization of that lower back and the joints in the lower back, as well as maintaining that child's pose stretch of all the lower back muscles and the gluteal muscles. And again, I'm holding this for a minute. And from here, we need to do the same on the other side. So threading the left arm underneath the right arm. And then finally in this series, I then do another minute of basic child's pose. So in total, that's 6 minutes of child's pose, if you're doing a minute per pose, which is quite a long time. But the longer you stretch these muscles, not only then are you stretching muscles, but you're also stretching all of the other tissues, soft tissues that are in and around the lower back, in particular the myofascia, which is a tissue which can cause a lot of problems, but is also essential for keeping us upright. So we need to keep some tension in there, but it can get a little bit too tight. Now from here, I then come into swan pose. And swan pose is another pose that there is a separate video for. But essentially what we're going to do is bring the right leg forward and bent like that. Left leg goes out straight. And then we kind of hunker down in that position so that my right heel is contacting the front of my left pelvis. You can stay in this position if you want, or you can bring yourself down if you're a little bit more flexible. Like all the other stretches, I then hold this for a minute. And then from here, I come back up and out, and then we need to do the same on the other side. So bending that left leg and then hunkering down so that the left heel is pushing into the front of the right pelvis. Now, to try and take tension away from the ankle and the knee, what you want to try and do is flex that foot, bring that foot up towards the shin so that we're not putting too much pressure through the ankle and the knee and causing problems there. And again, you can come down. After a minute of that, I then come up and we start doing some seated stretches. So, first one, I am bending my right leg and then bringing my left leg over. And from here, I just grab hold of my left knee and twist towards the knee. Now, if you're quite stable, then you can hold like that. If you feel that you're a little bit unstable in this position, then you can bring your left hand behind you and just put your fingers on the floor and balance yourself that way. And then just bring yourself around. You're twisting and mobilizing through that lower back, through that mid back. And then if you look over your left shoulder, you're also getting a bit of a twist and a mobilization in that neck as well. We're also stretching through the outside of the glute muscles on the left and up through the iliotibial band on the left as well. So hold that for a minute before coming round and doing exactly the same on the other side. Like this. Now, if this is too much, there is a slightly different way of doing it that might make it a little bit easier for you. The knee that is, the leg that's on the floor and bent on the floor, you can keep that straight and then bring the leg over and twist round. Some people find that easier, other people find it harder. So a minute on each of those. Next, we go into hamstrings. So a nice straightforward seated hamstring. So bend the left leg and bring the heel into the groin, and then I just take hold of my right foot and just pull towards, keeping the right leg nice and straight. Now you might not be able to get hold of your feet. It might be your ankle, it might be your shin. It doesn't really matter as long as you're starting to feel a stretch down the back of the thigh. Minute for that, and then of course we're going to do the other side. So bend the right leg, take hold of the left foot, and then lean forward until you feel that stretch coming through the back of the thigh. Now, from there, I'm going to try and get the adductors, which are the muscles on the inside of your thigh, and they're rarely stretched. So bringing the 2 feet together, and the soles of the feet together, I just take hold of my feet and just bring myself in. Now, if you really want to push it, then you can take hold of your ankles instead and bring your elbows onto the inside of your knees and just gently push those knees down towards the floor. Now, I don't want you to damage yourself, so this is a gentle lean onto the knees rather than trying to really force those knees onto the floor. And again, just hold that for a minute. From here, we're coming down onto the floor on our backs. And now we're going to start getting some twisting into the lower back. So once we're on our backs here, arms out, just going to roll my knees to the front. I'm going to keep my back shoulder, my left shoulder on the floor, and my right shoulder on the floor so that I'm nice and loose, but so that my knees are as close to the floor as I can get them. Now, if you're here, then that's fine. If you can get all the way down to the floor without bringing that back shoulder off, then that's great. And look away from the side that your knees are going. Once you've done that for a minute, we're going to do the other side. So bring yourself across, keeping the right shoulder on the floor this time and bringing the knees towards the left, and then turn the head so that you're looking down the right arm. Again for a minute. Now the final pose in this sequence is probably my favorite because it's the easiest. We're going again for those adductor muscles down the inside of your thigh. So this is butterfly pose. We're going to bring our feet together, or the soles of our feet together, bending our knees, and then bringing your arms over your head and just letting the knees drop down towards the floor. Now if you're up here, that's fine. If you can get your knees all the way down onto the floor, then impressive. I can't. And we're just going to hold this for the final minute. So there you have it. All told, that's 16 minutes of stretches and 10 seconds between each one. I try and do that every day. I don't always manage, and I don't beat myself up about it if I don't do it every day and if I miss a day. But the more often you can do it, the better. I would try and do these when you're warmed up. So I don't do them first thing in the morning. I let myself move around a little bit and let my body wake up before I start stretching them. What we don't want to do is stretch a cold muscle, because all we're doing is priming it for injury. So get moving around. In an ideal world, probably the end of the day is an ideal time to do it because you're nice and warm, you've built up tension through the day, and then this will help to loosen it off before you go to bed. So that's just my daily stretch routine, just to give you one or two ideas as to what you could do at the moment just to try and keep your body as loose as possible.